guys, I want to talk to you a little bit today about checklists and preparing for rides and how I keep everything together. There's so many things. I think I was looking. There's like I don't know 50 or 60 things that I do on a given day when I ride, as far as preparing for the ride or following the ride. And I saw some posts recently where people were talking about what they do beforehand, afterwards, and different things they do. I thought I might just share kind of what I do. This app is called Task Heat. They have an iPad version and they have a version for the iPhone on that Apple does. It's kind of neat. The way this app works is my checklist items. I just go up here to the top where it says New Task, and I'll click a new task. It'll drop it onto kind of to a piece of looks like background here, and then I can link it. I can tell it what task that goes before another task, and it keeps track of all that and graphs it out for you. So that's kind of nice. But anyway, so I've got this set up and I've got it broken into three pieces. What I do really an hour before we start to ride in a day, the stuff I need to do about 15 minutes before we actually do line up. And then of course after the ride, the things we do. And so the beforehand stuff is the blue, the green is the stuff I do right before getting ready to ride, and the yellow stuff is the stuff that I do after the ride is over. And going back to the top here, just kind of show you guys the result of this, by the way, is a checklist. And I'll click the tab here, follow the checklist. So it's smart enough to know what the predecessors are for the tasks that you need to do, and it generates this list for you. So I actually have the iPhone version of TaskKeep, so that's what I've actually got out in the field when I'm preparing for the ride and when I'm riding and stuff like that. And you literally just click the little boxes you see on the left side here and check them off as you're doing that. So anyway, what I've got here, the things I haven't read are things that are critical. Those are the things I definitely do not want to skip. So this 1 hour before the ride here, let's say I'm riding on a Saturday, I get up at 7 a.m., the ride's not till 9. I'll go through all the things that I consider these T minus 1 hour before ride tasks. The things that are in the red, if I'm crunched for time, I must do those things in red for their safety things. The things in blue, okay, yeah, maybe I can skip that. The things in red I definitely do. And so I've got some just common things I do, and then there's a few things I do that are relative to the vehicle engine and suspension, just doing checks on that kind of stuff. And I'll just step through here. I carry two GPS units or two nav units. One is a backup to the other one. I have a Voyager Pro. It's made by Trail Tech, so I get that mounted in the vehicle. I check to make sure my antenna is mounted for my radio and my comms unit. Making sure your whips are up if it's a night ride, lighted ones if it's a day ride. I've got day whips. If it's going to be late in the evening, I'll make sure I have at least one night whip or one lighted whip installed on it. I mount my 360 camera, kind of like my GoPro from SxS 360. I'll check the fuel pack if it's a long ride. I usually carry a 2.5 gallon fuel pack with me, so I'll make sure that's mounted. Make sure it's filled up, making sure you got water. How many times have you forgotten to put things in the cooler? So just, no matter what the ride is, carrying water is a smart idea. So I'll put several bottles of water in the cooler, make sure the cooler's sunk up, and then kind of going up here to the top. I usually use kind of in the top middle here, just verifying that I have my rags with me. That I usually carry dust rags so I can wipe things off as the ride goes, especially in really dusty areas. Make sure I've got the helmets in the vehicle. You don't want to be doing that at the very last minute. If they're still in your car or something, make sure you get those out and get them prepared and ready for lineup. The one thing is my air pump. So everybody uses my air pump. The air pump I've got from my Razor, my kid uses it, my wife uses it. And so there's been a few times where I pulled away and realized I don't have my air pump with me. So it's a pistol type air pump with a battery that snaps onto the bottom. And so just verifying that battery's disconnected, because as it's bouncing around, you don't want it to accidentally go off. Making sure the plug kit, I usually keep it with the pump, that my kid hasn't pulled that out. Make sure I got plugs, putting that in the bag, make sure the bag's in the vehicle. The first aid kit, verifying that, hey, the first aid kit's in there. Most of these things are really quick though. Most of these things are just a quick inspection. And then kind of the stuff you see on the right, center right, which is, the vehicle suspension, engine checks. I'll do a real quick a check against the shock mount bolts. I make sure, I just kind of put my hands on the tops and the bottoms to make sure that there's no loose bolts with those. I check the coolant real quick, pop the hood open. Tire pressure, I can usually tell by looking. Sometimes I'll pop out the gauge, but most of the time I can tell by looking where I'm at with pressure. Checking the oil, definitely don't want to forget about that, and confirming the fuel level. How many? It seems like at the group rides we go on, there's always somebody who, when they filled up their Razor the night before or their Can-Am, they were sitting at an angle and they got an air bubble in there, and you're 10 minutes into the ride, and somebody comes on the radio and says, "Oh man, I could have swore I filled this thing up, but I've only got 3/4 of a tank." Things like that. So just confirming that fuel level before you take off is important. As you're going through doing the bolt checks, looking for things that are loose, like with the A-arms, your mounts, radius rods, all that, look on the ground, right? Is there any drips, any fluid leaks, anything like that? It's so easy just to glance on the ground to confirm that you don't see anything dripping. And that's kind of it for the vehicle suspension checks that I do. And then last thing I'll do is I'll just pop open the toolbox, glance in, make sure the night before somebody hasn't grabbed something out, or a friend or family or whatever using something out of the toolbox. Just make sure everything's there, lock it up, make sure that it's locked and secured, and then get my tablet out. That's my primary nav source. So I've got a an A7 tablet and mounting that in the vehicle. So those are all the things I do the hour before. Let's say I did that 7 to 8, something like that. Grab some breakfast, and then right before the ride starts, I do the things in green, and these are pretty fast to do. These are what I call the 15-minute before the ride things. I'll go out to the vehicle, I'll turn my nav unit on, and I'll begin to record the tracks. Very important. If you've got a nav unit, you need to have the breadcrumbs be dropped, right? The reason is so you can get back the way you came. If you're dropping breadcrumbs, you've got your track record on. Worst case, you can always follow the way you came to get back. So if the leader takes a turn and goes off map, or you somehow get off track, you can always follow your breadcrumbs to get back. It's very important. It's a good safety thing. That's the reason it's marked red here. And then turning on the Insta360 camera, I'll make sure it's on. I'll turn on record mode. I'll turn on my intercom system, my radio, make sure I'm set to the right frequency, kick-neck my helmets up, and I'll just do a quick radio check. I've got a handheld, and I'll usually just do a quick a check against the handheld if there's nobody else in their vehicle. Verifying your cell phone was with you. I know I've driven off a few times and realized my cell phone's in my RV or my vehicle. For safety reasons, got to have that cell phone with you. So I do that. Quick check for gloves and jackets, make sure that's in there. And then, of course, locking your vehicle in your RV. So many times we get wrapped up into getting ready for the ride that we forget to lock our vehicle and lock our RV, and of course, it's a good target while it's just sitting there unattended, so definitely want to make sure you lock that up. Turn on my chase lights, and then lastly, turn on my primary nav unit, which is my tablet, and turning breadcrumbs on it. So now I've got two different nav sources. They're both recording breadcrumbs. I'm not going to get lost. And then ready to line. So we do the line up, we go do the ride, get back from the line, ride, and then there's a set of things I do. Usually clean out the cooler, disconnect my helmets. I usually wear a helmet that's a motocross style helmet. So I've got what they call a wolf snout filter. It's just a foam filter, but I need to wash that out if it's been really dusty, and so I'll do that. Getting that fuel pack off, filling it back up, topping it off, making sure it's ready to go for the next ride the next morning. Doing a quick check for cuts and nails in the tires. The last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning and realize your tire's completely flat and it's popped off the rim. If you're not wearing beadlocks, or you don't have beadlocks or whatever. But just checking that the night before can save you some time the following morning. Refueling your vehicle back up. You don't want to do that super early in the morning, making a lot of noise if you're camping. So I like to do it at night, so I don't bug people the following morning. Cleaning the trash out of the vehicle. I carry a blower with me. I know a lot of people in the club do that. They carry a blower, like a battery-operated leaf blower, and it works wonders. Just get that thing in there, and you can blow out all the dust and stuff that's in the vehicle, and clean it out a little bit. It's kind of nice to do. And then if it's super muddy, I actually carry a battery, a lithium-ion battery-operated power washer in my RV. And so I'll put 5 gallons in a bucket of water and actually power wash it off if it's got mud, because to keep it, I'll do it that day when I get back, so it's not turned to concrete the following day. But yeah, that's kind of rare out here in the desert. Don't have to worry about that very much. But there have been a few times where I've used that and I've been happy I've had it. Just checking in the vehicle to make sure all the rocker switches are off. I usually carry a couple of handheld radios and loan them out to people when we're doing group rides, and so I'll make sure I'll get those radios back and put them on the chargers so that we can use them the following day. And then, of course, putting all my cameras and tablets on the charger and clearing out the memory and downloading the data out of them. And so I'll usually do that at the very end, and that's pretty much it at the end of the day. And like I say, this converts into a list. So once you've kind of drawn this out, you can drop it as a list. and you basically just go through here. And the thing I like is if you go through here and you just arbitrarily start in the middle, if there's a dependency, it'll tell you there's a dependency. So if I go down here and I go right here and say connect helmets, it says, hey, wait a minute. There are 29 other things that you said you need to do before you even got to this point. Are you sure you want to do that? So it's smart enough about keeping track of the dependencies and everything. And yeah, so anyway, hope guys find this somewhat helpful. This is kind of how I do it, and I know a lot of people are asking about it. So yeah, again, the app I use is called Taskkeep. Catch you guys later.